Hey everyone, welcome back for another deep dive. And today we're going to be tackling a pretty big one. We're going to be looking at the Almighty Supreme.
Oh, this should be good.
Yeah. Now, I know that might sound kind of intimidating, right? Like, Almighty Supreme, where do we even begin? But trust me, this is one of the most fascinating and honestly hopeful concepts I've come across in all of the Urantia book.
I've got to agree with you there. It really challenges a lot of the traditional ideas we have about God and creation.
Absolutely. And it really gets to the heart of, well, what does it mean for something to be truly supreme? Is it about being perfect and unchanging? Or is there like a different way to think about it?
And that's exactly what we're going to be diving into today. Exactly. So we're going to be taking a deep dive into paper 116, the Almighty Supreme, to unpack all of this. And one of the things that really jumps out right from the start is this, well, kind of contradiction, right? Like, the Urantia book describes these exquisitely perfect spheres of Havona, but then you've got, well, us, Urantia. And let's be honest, we're not exactly known for our perfection.
Right. It's almost like, how can both of these things exist within the same universe, let alone be influenced by the same God? It's a really good question.
It is. And that's where this whole concept of an evolving deity comes in. Now, the Urantia book isn't saying that a perfect infinite God doesn't exist. We know that it talks about the universal Father residing in paradise. But the Almighty Supreme, the being we're focusing on today, this represents, well, a different aspect of the divine.
Exactly.
Yeah.
This is an aspect that's very much connected to the evolving universe, to the grand universe. And this idea of evolution, this idea of growth and change, well, it's not just happening in the universe. The Almighty Supreme is evolving right alongside it.
So it's not just that the universe is in motion. The force behind it, the force that shapes it, is also changing, growing. It's wild.
Totally. And I think that's where a lot of people get tripped up. We're so used to this idea of God being static, unchanging,
Yeah.
But here we have this idea that, well, no, maybe even God is still becoming, still on a journey.
And it makes you wonder, what does that journey look like? What does it mean for a being of such immense power to be, well, evolving?
Well, to understand that, we have to remember that the perfect spheres of Havona exist outside of time and space as we experience them. They are complete, unchanging. But the grand universe, including our world, it's a realm of constant change, constant becoming. And the Almighty Supreme is participating in that, experiencing it, growing through it.
So we're not talking about some distant, hands-off kind of God here. The Almighty Supreme is actively participating in the unfolding of the cosmos. And that active participation, that's what fuels their own evolution.
Precisely. And that's what we call experiential deity. This idea that the Almighty Supreme isn't just setting the laws and then watching the show. They're in the universe, experiencing these laws firsthand, learning, growing, evolving.
That is mind-blowing, man. But if the Almighty Supreme isn't the, top God, how does this all connect to the idea of God the Sevenfold?
Yes. God the Sevenfold. This is where things get even more interesting. Now, it's important to remember, we're not talking about 7 different gods. It's more like 7 levels of divine activity working together, each playing a role in the grand scheme of things.
Oh, okay. I'm starting to see where you're going with this. So it's like, instead of one God doing everything, you've got this incredible team effort happening on a cosmic scale.
That's a great way to put it. It's like a symphony orchestra. You've got your composers. These would be your paradise deities. And they create the music, the grand design, so to speak.
Okay, I like where this is going. Keep going.
All right, so you've got your composers, then you've got your conductors, the master spirits, the ancients of days. They interpret that grand design, they guide the performance, making sure everything flows together.
Okay, yeah, and I'm guessing the musicians are.
Exactly. They're the creator sons, the angels, all the celestial beings working within the universe, bringing that music to life.
That is an amazing analogy.
And amidst all of that, you have the Almighty Supreme. They're not one part of the orchestra, they're the symphony itself, the magnificent result of this incredible, complex, harmonious collaboration.
So it's not just a chain of command, it's like divine synergy.
Precisely. Each level is essential, each level contributes to the whole, and together they're all working towards the evolution of the Almighty Supreme, and by extension, the evolution of the grand universe.
So we've got this incredible picture of a cosmic orchestra, right? Every part working together. But it made me wonder, where do we fit into all of this? I mean, we're down here on Urantia dealing with our everyday stuff, and it's hard to imagine how our lives could actually be connected to something as massive as the Almighty Supreme.
Yeah, it's a question a lot of people have, right? Like, how can we possibly be important in all of this? But, the Urantia book actually suggests that our role is, well, anything but insignificant.
Really? So we're not just along for the ride?
Not at all. In fact, the Urantia book goes as far as to say that human beings are actually vital to the Almighty Supreme's growth.
Vital. Okay, that's a big word. So it's not just that we're along for the ride, it's like we're essential to the journey.
Exactly. It really challenges us to rethink our place in this whole grand scheme of things. We tend to see ourselves as so small, right? Insignificant. But the Urantia book, it presents this whole other perspective where our choices, our struggles, like all of it, contributes to something much, much bigger than ourselves.
Oh, wow. It really puts a whole new spin on things, doesn't it? Like free will. It's not just about what we choose for dinner. It's about, well, our choices actually impacting the evolution of this, well, cosmic being. It's kind of a lot of responsibility when you think about it like that.
It really is. And it shows us how interconnected everything really is. The Almighty Supreme's growth, it isn't separate from our own. It's all part of this incredible tapestry, this grand evolution of the entire universe.
Okay, so our actions, they have cosmic implications. I get that. But there's also this whole thing about humans having a unique capacity for spiritual ascent. What exactly does that even mean? Is it like, are we all just one meditation retreat away from, sparking a cosmic evolution?
It's funny you should say that. It's not quite as easy as booking a retreat, although I'm all for those. But seriously, the Urantia book talks about this deep personal connection we can develop with the divine. Remember the thought gestures we've talked about before?
Oh, yeah, those little sparks of the universal father, right? Like inside each of us.
Exactly. That connection, that's key. It's through that connection, through cultivating that relationship with the divine, through seeking wisdom, through reflecting those divine qualities in our lives. That's how we really tap into our spiritual capacity. And it's that potential for spiritual growth.
Yeah.
That's what really sets us apart.
So less about grand gestures, more about the day-to-day, like aligning ourselves with that inner spark.
That's a great way to put it. And here's where it gets even more fascinating. The more we grow spiritually, the more we draw closer to that divine potential within us. Well, that actually contributes to the Almighty Supreme's evolution. But it's not a one-way street.
Oh, how so?
Well, as we grow, as we contribute to the Almighty Supreme's evolution, that in turn empowers our spiritual growth. It's this incredible reciprocal dance, this back and forth of growth and evolution happening on this cosmic scale.
It's like this grand cosmic dance, and we're all a part of it, the universe, the Almighty Supreme, humanity. It's a lot to take in.
It is. It's a lot to consider, but it's also, I think, a really hopeful message. We're not just passive bystanders in all of this. We're active participants, and our choices, our growth, it all matters. It all contributes to something so much bigger than ourselves.
We've been talking about this amazing cosmic dance, this whole idea of humanity and the Almighty Supreme evolving together, but there's this one line in paper 116 that really sticks with me. It says that mortal man appears to be necessary to the full function of God the sevenfold. Necessary, not just, helpful, not just a nice addition, but necessary.
It's a powerful statement, isn't it?
Yeah.
It really makes you think about, what does it really mean for something to be supreme?
Right, because we tend to think of God as this complete being, totally self-sufficient.
Exactly. But what if, and this is a big what if that's not the whole picture? What if, in ways that we're maybe just starting to grasp, this whole idea of evolution, it requires our participation?
That is a huge what if. It almost sounds like, I don't want to say dependent, but it implies that the Almighty Supreme is, somehow incomplete without us.
It's not quite dependence in the way we usually think about it. We have to remember, the Urantia book, it emphasizes the vastness, the power of the Almighty Supreme.
Yeah.
But it also keeps coming back to this idea of experiential deity. So what if the very nature of this being's evolution, requires them to engage with all of creation, the whole spectrum?
Okay, yeah. And what if humanity, with all of our capacity for love, for suffering, what if we offer a unique perspective on that? We experience the fullness of existence in a way that maybe other beings don't?
It's really interesting to think about, right? We're so focused on achieving perfection, on becoming more. But what if our imperfections, our struggles, what if those are actually valuable too?
So maybe it's not just about what we do, it's about what we experience as humans. Our joys, our sorrows, all of it, it all gets added to this cosmic equation somehow.
It's a pretty mind-blowing concept when you really sit with it. It's humbling, but it's also kind of empowering, don't you think?
Totally. We're not just here to, figure out our own little lives. We're part of something much, much bigger.
And maybe, just maybe, that's the whole point. The Urantia book, it doesn't give us all the answers, but it definitely gets you thinking. It opens up these incredible possibilities. It shows us that we're all part of this grand symphony of creation. We all have a role to play.
And the coolest part is the story isn't over. Like, the Almighty Supreme is still evolving, and so are we.
That's a beautiful way to put it. So as we wrap up this deep dive, we want to leave you with a question. If humanity is truly necessary to the Almighty Supreme's evolution, what does that mean for your life, for your choices, for your unique journey in this vast, incredible universe? Keep seeking, keep exploring, and until next time, keep diving deep.
Absolutely. Everyone keep diving.